Kochi because I got rejected from NIT, and so I moved to college under the NC University. It wasn't a great college. I didn't have the opportunity to do a great project, or the master's project was not that great. I did it in one other college, neighboring college. It was developing some materials. It wasn't that great. There is no characterization tools or any computational skills. I didn't have any of those during that project. I didn't even know what I did during that time. I didn't know why I was doing that. So there was the master's stage. That's how I finished my master's. I scored enough score to get into a PhD anymore. So that was something like 70%. And life started pressurizing me on myself. I married to a girl who did PhD here in physics department. So she was a really great help for me in my career. So we loved marriage, and I did some random jobs. So I started a career in a school as a teacher. I didn't carry on with that. I stopped doing that in 2 months, and then I moved to abroad in Oman, and I did something like a administration job in a construction company for 9 months. I wasn't enjoying that, so I decided to come back. So that was the dip in my, not just career. I should have done that, there's something I should have gone to somewhere that I didn't enjoy. So that was a dip in my career and dip in my life as well. So I decided, the point is that I almost wasted 12 months of my life there in school and the company where I worked as an administrator. So I came back and then started searching for the research jobs. I didn't have any clue how to do that. I wanted to become a researcher. So the only option that I knew was something like, okay, you can do a PhD, so you can move to academia. So that's the only option. Probably you guys know something better because you have exposure in NIT Calicut as one of the elite institute in the nation, to be honest. So you probably know better how to get into a better job. So the only thing I knew was get a PhD, go into some academic job, and find some funding or research opportunities and do some research. That was the only thing I knew that I could do. So what I did, I started writing the GATE examination, you know that, and I tried to clear the NET JRF and everything. I was total failure, unsuccessful everywhere. I never could. I tried twice for the GATE examination. I couldn't do that. You got into NIT clearing GATE, right? JEE, I'm sorry. Okay. So GATE for me was very difficult, and NET JRF was not my cup of tea. The competitive exam was not my cup of tea. So I came here. The previous HOD of this department, Pradeep, so he conducted a workshop here. So that was 10-day workshop on organic solar cells. So that's a hot research topic. So I came here, 10 days, stayed here, listened to a French professor who was giving a talk and some workshop on how to fabricate a solar cell and stuff like that. It was really hot topic, and I enjoyed that. So that's the very first point. I realized that, okay, you can do something like you can get into, if you are not securing the GATE or the NET examination, you still could do something. There are project assistant jobs in India, so which there's some professors, some researchers securing funding for a project. So he can hire someone into that project as a project assistant. So that was my next aim. So I applied to one of the professor in Coimbatore, an institute called PSGIAS. It was one of the institutes in Tamil Nadu. So I applied to that. For the first time, it was great funding. So that was something like 35,000 per month salary. So I didn't secure that. I was successful. For the next project, a smaller one when he got that. So that was like a local family scholarship, something, family funding for the research. So that was only 10,000 rupees, which is not so great to survive in Coimbatore, but still I took the job because I liked research. And I worked there for almost 1.5 years, and my supervisor was really great. Like, he was really helpful. He was secured a fellowship called Bhaskara Fellowship, so which is the fellowship for the researchers in solar cells who can go to USA for 6 months, and everything is paid by the government. So it's called Bhaskara Fellowship. So he had really good exposure. He know how to get into the universities abroad. So he was in the US. So the point is that he was really helpful in my career, and also I could publish 2 papers during that time. But it is also, for me, some skills that I developed during my 1.5 years as a research assistant is something that I could do during masters. That's actually the truth. Like, you could do during your project, your final thesis of your masters, or your probably you guys are BTech. How many of you are from BTech? Any masters? Oh, okay. So both of you are there. So your project is a serious thing. Trust me. If you want to pursue a career in research, in pure science, you're pursuing pure science, so you want to become a pure scientist or something. So trust me, your project is very important. Develop the skills, whatever you could do. The point is that I spent 1.5 years in PSCIAS to develop these skills and publish 2 papers. And then that was the time I realized that staying here as a project assistant or a senior research fellow for long is, I don't know if it's worth it, like staying for many years as a temporary job is something that's good for your career. Actually, you're wasting your time for something you're not earning something. You're actually doing the same thing a PhD student is doing. So, okay, you get into a project, develop your skills and move. That's it. I would recommend that way now because I've gone through this way. So the thing is that I developed the skills and I moved to a laboratory in Bangalore, which is a CSIR lab. You probably know what is that, right? CSIR, what was it? Central. Yeah, sorry. The lab, it was called National Aerospace Laboratory, and I worked there for 1.5 years. It wasn't the happiest time. It was not the happiest time of my life, actually. So I started applying to universities abroad. So the very first time when I don't know if I have a slide related to that. I am apologizing for you guys. I'm actually on my vacation from UK. I'm in UK, and it's a 10 days vacation. So I'm being here underprepared and on my casuals. So bear with me with that. So yeah. Okay. So where were we? The Coimbatore, right? Yeah. So Bangalore. Yeah. So I did this research fellowship. It was called Senior SRF, Senior Research Fellowship. The funding was great. I used to get a salary something like 45,000, including HRA. Is that right? 45,000, right? Yeah. So including HRA, the salary. That's the highest salary up to that time in my career. And the research we did there was successful in a way, but it didn't lead to any publication or next level. But we actually got really a good appreciation from the central government or something, because we presented our research in the, what is that thing, the Indian research, Indian science. No, actually, so there is something like a conference, like an exhibition every year. That's an elite exhibition in India for science, Indian Science Congress, yeah. So we presented in Indian Science Congress, so we got really good appreciation from the government. And it didn't lead to a paper or something like deliverable in terms of research, but it led to the next grant for my supervisor. She was a principal scientist there. But I wasn't happy because still I'm not getting anything from there. I'm not getting any degree. I am not a permanent staff there. I knew that when the project ends or when the grant stalls there, I will be thrown out from NIL. It was not something I wanted to do. So I decided to apply to universities abroad. So obviously we all go to the developed countries. They have the money with them. So the first preference goes to USA, then Australia, UK, Europe. This is usual things when you want to do a PhD. I think this is the usual thing everybody does, right? So you search for how to apply. In Google, there wasn't ChatGPT at that time, so we Google how to apply to PhDs US, how to apply to PhDs UK, things like that, and it takes you to some random website, don't give you any advice, and you end up nothing in your hand. So that's the truth. Like when you Google it, you don't get anything useful. Is that right? Sometimes you get something useful, but for jobs, when it comes to job, you need a proper advice. But Google don't give you that, or ChatGPT is actually a bit efficient in terms of giving you advices, right? What you guys think? Is AI good? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So when I have an Instagram page. Any of you following me though? Yeah, that's shame for me. So when I develop strategies to post videos on Instagram, I actually asked ChatGPT how to get 1 million followers in 1 week or something like that. So he gives you clear plan how to do that, and it doesn't work actually. I actually have 7,000 followers now, I guess. It's actually a good progress because I made that in 4 weeks or something. So I finished my PhD in last October, and I took a break. PhD is actually a really stressful journey. Something like, it will stress you out, it will exhaust you. In fact, I had the best supervisors in the world. One from UCL, University College London. He was a super nice guy who gave me all the support in my career and everything. And the other guy was from Oxford, and he's also this extremely nice guy. But still, he stressed me out like anything, exhausted, stressful, depression, and I didn't want to do anything. I just literally wanted to escape from these things and wanted to do something for this. So I took a break. Stayed at home. I have a family, I have a daughter, so I stayed at home and just played with my daughter, watching the Baby Shark and the Peppa Pig and everything. Yeah, so coming back to the point, early before. Did I start how I applied to the universities abroad? Yeah, so that's where we are. So I first I started sending emails to random professors abroad. So don't tell this to anyone, guys. My first email was one professor in Oxford, and who was, he was a Nobel laureate or something, or he worked with Nobel laureate. And I sent him an email with a bad English grammar, bad structure, without a proper cover letter or anything. I don't know where did I get the what you call it, guts to send him an email like that. So I just asked him, dear sir, I want to do PhD. Do you have any vacancy there? So that was the content that I typed in the email, and I sent him that. But surprisingly, he was extremely nice. He sent me back an email. Dear Nonu, thanks for your email. At the moment, I am involved in administrative jobs, so I'm not hiring any. He wasn't hiring any PhD students at that time, but he had a team who is 6 professors there in the department. So, and he sent me the list of the names and the email and everything. And you can ask these guys for your PhD application. I really got surprised. Like, that random email gave me a lot of confidence because, I think I included a CV, which was crap that time, to be honest. It was totally bullshit that time. My CV was, I made that CV. I still have that. If you want, I can send you that CV and my current CV for a comparison. It was bullshit. And he sent me something like, your profile looks good. So, I had the master's in physics and research experience and publication, but I made it look really crap. So he sent me an email, your profile looks good. I don't know what makes him think like that. So he asked me to apply to these guys who are his assistants. But I didn't care because I knew that I needed IELTS for the English things. And what else? To get into Oxford, you need to clear some other exam, which was very expensive, something like 14,000 rupees. So I didn't care applying to Oxford that time. And so the point is that it gave me a confidence. Okay, I am someone who is in a position that a Nobel laureate can appreciate that I can get a PhD from Oxford. So there was a point I realized, okay, there is something that you earn so far. And so then I started applying to professors, like sending emails to random professors. So then it is a very usual thing that you get rejections. Sometimes they appreciate. Someone will have grant like funding for PhD students, and someone will encourage you to apply for the next term. In Western countries, the thing is that there is PhD. If you want to get into any courses, there are 2 terms, like one fall and summer and winter or something like that. I don't know what exactly the timeline, but there are 2 times in the year you can apply to courses in Western universities. So that's the thing. So you will be asked to apply through the proper channel and everything. And I applied, and I counted actually last year after my PhD how many emails I sent to random professors in the world, and how many applications I submitted to different universities in the world. And I counted, and it exceeds 2,500. Actually, I made 2,500 applications to different PhD programs in the world in 2 years. And trust me, I can tell you, don't tell this to anyone again, I got 2,491 applications rejected. Seriously, that's how many applications this is a number that I'm guessing. It's not below this number, but I'm sure it is above this number. So 2,491 applications, because I know I only made it in the interview stage only 9 applications. So what was the difference? The difference was, through this process, throughout this process, from the guy who got rejected from here to one who made it into these universities, the funding from these universities, that process, I learned many things. How to approach, how to make a good profile, how to write a good cover letter. So these things, I mean, that's the, and also it improves your confidence. When you get rejected, you actually get a positive email from them. So you get confidence to apply or to what we say, I mean, to walk to them, it is okay. There are people in the world, they will be able to help you. So, where are we? Sorry. You guys both? Is it good to carry on with this? Thanks. Doesn't actually looks like that. Alright, I'll have some water. Okay. So the important thing is that I improve my quality in the confidence that I have, what I've learned. Okay, I did something. I published papers. I did my master's, and I scored a very good score. I mean, in the beginning, I told you that I'm an average student, but I wasn't not. I mean, I was. If you take the world average, you are one of the best students, being an average student in India. So this process gave me the confidence to approach people. So then I realized that the way I am doing it was wrong. Sending emails to random professors it's okay, but it's not that greatly useful. So what I instead did, okay, let me tell you one thing before I just wind up this slide. I did my PhD in these 3 universities. So 2 of these universities, the Oxford and UCL, makes it into the top 10 universities in the world, and Queen Mary is also one of the top 100 universities in the world. So these are something like few Russell Group universities, that's what they call them. So it is research universities, so they have a team. So universities hire Russell Group universities themselves, actually. I don't know why they're doing that, but it makes you feel something. It is important, actually. But it is not. Any universities with facilities good, actually. So, okay. So, I didn't make it to any top universities in India, so I decided to move. And I made it into one of the top universities in the world, actually. So, because I earned confidence and I earned the knowledge how to do things through this process. It took me long, so I'm trying to help people through social media how to do that. I mean, skip what I did. Yeah. Okay, so the next step that, getting into, after this process, applying to the PhD programs in the world, was extremely competitive for me. It was something like you are competing with. So you obviously have to apply to, if you're applying to international universities, you have to apply to the program which fund international students. So that in terms of numbers, that's really low. If you see 100 advertisement for PhD programs in UK, for example, in the UK, I don't know how you're searching for the programs. For example, I am a specialist in solar cells or material science. So if I search in a website, you will see, for example, solar cells, you will see something like 100 advertisements, out of which 98 of them goes to national students of that country, which means it doesn't fund you as an international student. The rest of the 2 is for you, but the problem is that when you apply for that program, there are students, thousands of students from China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Russia, Europe, also UK, doesn't stopping them to apply to the program. So you are competing with the whole world, in fact. Actually you're competing with everyone. My friend, one of my colleague, actually made it into Oxford University after, he was my colleague in my laboratory, and he did a 2-year postdoctor, and he made it into the associate professor position, assistant professor position in Oxford University last year, and he advertised a international funded PhD position 6 months ago. Initially it was, he couldn't secure funding for international students. So initially he applied, he advertised the position for national students. That means if you have UK passport or UK permanent residency, you can apply to that position. And in 6 months, he got only 1 application. And that guy, we interviewed him, and that guy wasn't that great. And so he struggled to get funding for international students because he desperately wanted some students to work in his lab, because he had the facilities and everything which is lying like blazing in the lab. So he wanted someone to work for the project. So he struggled to find his funding, and somehow he managed to find funding for 1 international PhD student. And we advertised this post in findaphd.com, and for UK it is jobs.ac.uk, that's a website. So he advertised everywhere in LinkedIn, and he got something like 12,000 applications for 1 PhD program. So it's actually a headache for him to shortlist this 12,000. So it goes through a system like a computer software or something to match the keywords and match these things from like the skill set and everything. And what happened? So the 12,000 all the way down to 10 when it came to his hand. So that's how it works. So you're competing with these 12,000, probably more or probably less. If it is international, you get application from everywhere. So the competition is really high. So what make you to go down to that 10, shortlist you to the 10? The first thing, that mindset. So he considered the students that sent him email with his CV and with his cover letter and everything, how their profile matching for this position. So he received this email and he listed out that, and when it came to the computer system, from the 100, what happened? He shortlisted someone who emailed him, because that was the priority there, right? Because these students already knew that he had funding, so there is an opportunity. And they interviewed 10 students, and now recently he hired a student from China who studied in Germany and everything, who had every skill set. So actually what I'm telling you is that mindset to approach people and who have like a quality confidence in their skill set. So the skills that you have, develop your skills in programming, develop your skills in the laboratory. Like, for example, in my case, if you want to become a scientist, in material science, you have to have a certain skill set, something like the characterization of the materials, the thin film analysis, or the computational tools, obviously, and the physics that you already know. So you have to be confident with everything. If you face any question, it doesn't have to be very correct, but it must make you think. So that's what you want to have. So that's a mindset and the skills that you need to have. And the exposure, that something that I lacked in my initial years. I mean, in the initial years of my application stage. The exposure in the sense, when you apply for a program, or the very first thing, if you want to apply for a research or science program, what would you do? I mean, have any of you started applying to jobs or research things? Anyone? Which year are you guys?
First.
Oh, all of your first years, right? First, second, third, and every other. Okay, so you will go through this. So, the important thing is that there are keywords that find you your right position. That is something like before my project was in some materials, random crystals, and some solar cells, and everything. So, initially, when I started searching for the programs, there are websites called, you probably know how to find jobs in India. I'm not a specialist in that. I'm good at Europe because I got a lot of rejection from them. There is a website called Euraccess and findaphd.com. I mean, it doesn't matter, there is a word called PhD there, but it is also advertised things like the research assistant position and everything. So the keyword is the key actually for you. So being a solar cell scientist, I need to have the right keyword. So that is thin film, solar cells, photovoltaics, material science, and then I went down to atomic force microscopy, XRD, and things like that. So these keywords, you need to figure out what you know or what you want to do. Find the right keywords for you to search in these websites. That's really important. And the next thing is that you need to activate the filter in this website for international funding. Otherwise, it is a waste of time that you're applying to some national funded projects or any positions, like if you're looking for an industry job, there are keywords, but when you want to go to abroad, the problem is that your visa. Getting a visa, it is a struggle also for the companies like us. We want to hire people to our company, but the problem is that the qualified people doesn't have the right to work in the UK. And the application from the UK, they are not qualified to work there. So that's the problem. They want people, but there are government restrictions. So it is your responsibility to find the right way that you go to whichever country you like. Trust me, for researchers, for science enthusiasts, and for academicians, the gate is open widely. For example, in UK, I'm in the UK. After my PhD, actually, I was supposed to come back to India. If my visa expires, I need to come back to India. But what I did, there are ways for researchers, especially researchers in the developed countries, there are ways that you can get into that country. Being a science lover, you don't need to have any job, you don't want to study there. So that visa is called Global Talent Visa. So you can apply to that if you are a global talent. how do I describe a global talent? Someone with the right skills to do science, someone with the right skills to be an engineer, someone who is with the right skill, who have the eligibility. So if you did something that worthy of it makes you to a global talent, you can actually come to UK. And the benefit of this visa is that if you get that, you get the permanent residentship in 3 years, when others get in 5 or 10 years. And you get your citizenship in the UK in 4 years. So, and for one of my friends, she's working in, she's a PhD student. She's worked with me in NAL in Bangalore, and she actually get into a PhD program under Marie Curie Fellowship. So there are a lot of funded PhD positions for international students through that program. So it is called MCQA thing. And I know there are a lot of Indian students, PhD students working in Europe. And she's working in Slovenia, and she's a PhD student. In her second year of PhD, she published a paper in a high quality journal, like a high impact factor journal. And what happened? She applied for the citizenship of Slovenia through, I don't know what's the program called, but there is a program for researchers who did their PhD or 2-year course there and have a very good publication, some significant publication, can apply to the citizenship directly. So usually for others, for normal people, it takes like 10 years to get a citizenship in Slovenia, but she actually got it in 3 years. It's the same. If you go to US and you are the principal investigator of a project, you straight away get the green card. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you want to go to other countries being a scientist or an engineer, and in an umbrella term, if you're a global talent, you can go. It is easy for researchers, because I traveled a lot only because of research, only because of science. Okay. Yeah, so I think that is the thing. So you guys are BTech students and MSc students. And in UK, one positive thing is that you don't have to, here your BTech students, right? If you want to do PhD, you don't have to do a master's after your BTech. You actually straight away get into a PhD program. And master's student, obviously, you can get into a PhD program anywhere. And is all of you do have the plan to get into PhD, or are you looking for industry jobs? Anyone looking for industry, scientific jobs? Anyone looking for PhD? A lot of people actually, that's very impressive. And any industry jobs? Actually, industry jobs, really good, 9 to 5, and good salary, no pressure, no pressure of publications and everything, no conference. You just sit in the office, you work for the company, you get salary, go home, enjoy, that's it. That's industry. If you want to get a PhD, majority of you want to get into PhD, you all are eligible if you get good score. BTech is also eligible, and Masters also eligible for PhD programs into UK. And do you have any preference on the countries? Like any of this country, any of you have a preference? India? Anyone who wants to do PhD in India? Great. Europe? Great. Okay, for those who want to get into European research program, write these websites called Euraccess and findaphd.com. These are the major websites. There are also websites dedicated to different universities where you can find the PhD advertisement. So Euraccess is the best. Any projects, it's a government research council funded website where they advertise the postdoc like research fellowship program and all the PhD things they advertise there. And anyone want to go to UK? UK is actually, the good thing with Europe, UK, or US, Australia, and India is that it only takes 3 years to finish your PhD, or some time, depending on the supervisor, for maximum 4. And you don't get funding for the next year, so you have to finish in 3 to 4 years. Actually, one of my friends, she's from France. She completed a PhD in 2.5 years. So don't waste your time doing PhD 7 years. Don't waste your time PhD over 5 years. So I prefer, if you're applying for PhD programs, ask your supervisor. Have the guts to ask the supervisor how many years it will take to finish my PhD. And if he's clueless, just turn down that position. Don't waste, trust me, there is no point. You're wasting your time, a lot of years, a lot of your time of your life wasting in the universities. Trying to publish one paper is an absolute waste of time. I actually did my PhD in 2.5 years, and I started writing my thesis when it finished 2.5 years, and in 6 months I submitted my thesis, and I published 2 papers within this time. So prefer that kind of timeline for if you want to do your PhD. So some of you want to apply to UK program, and anyone Australia? Want to go to Australia? So actually I once made it into a Australian PhD program. So a university in a city called Charles Darwin. If you know, it's a new generational university. It's called Charles Darwin University. And the problem with I secured the PhD position, but he didn't have the funding. So it was my responsibility to apply for funding to universities and the government. It wasn't that easy, so I didn't take that position. And anyone want to apply to USA? Right. Actually, comparing to India, Europe, UK, or Australia, USA is the easiest country for you to get into a PhD program, because the application process, is actually a bit expensive than other countries. It is something like, beforehand, to apply to any PhD program, that you need to have your English test, IELTS and TOEFL and GRE. So I don't know how many of you can afford 2 or 3 of this examination when you pass from the universities without a job. And it also takes you the admission fee, so that's not very cheap. So I sent an email to a professor in Duke University, which is one of the top universities in the world, and he was one of the premium kind of scientists in the field. So he encouraged me to apply. Okay, I was very happy. He asked me to apply to the next PhD intake. I was very happy, and when I checked the university website, you need to pay something like 14,000 Indian rupee or something. I don't know how, but it's somewhere close to 15,000. So the admission fee is the one thing. I don't know if you can afford that, go for it, and prepare for, during your master's or undergrad, prepare for the GRE, TOEFL, IELTS and everything, get a good grade in that. So the university prefers something like 7.5 and everything. And trust me, it is very easy. On my first attempt, I got 8. I wasn't that great in English when I was in India. But it's actually really easy if you are working in English settings. Scoring IELTS was really the easiest thing that I ever did, and I was really worried before the examination, and I realized that it's a very easy thing. So for you guys, being in NIT is very easy, I'm sure. So that's the thing about this country. All these countries are great for, research infrastructure and very futuristic. And this is about PhD, and if you want to get into industries are a bit higher in terms of payment, better in salary, better in lifestyle, career balance and everything. Industry is better. Industry, obviously, you can search jobs in the website. You've got Indeed, LinkedIn. The problem with industry, they are not actually systematic. They just don't care about the emails. The email, the inbox bursts every morning, so nobody wants to read emails. So there is no point sending emails to the HR. She don't want to read the emails in the industries. Even in the universities, I don't think they want to read the email. Industry, right? Yeah. So in industries, if you want to get into the scientific or technical jobs, you don't need a PhD. So before going for the PhD, think about you. If you really want to do a PhD and get into a research or academic position, you go for it. Think twice or thrice. If it is a scientific job, there are a lot of other positions everywhere in the world. If you have the right skills and everything, you can get into the technician post, the engineering post. Don't worry if you're doing a master's in pure science, till you can apply to the engineering or technician positions. So, for example, I myself actually am a scientist. So what I'm doing is reading papers and finding ideas and developing some new technology or things or develop some new material. But there are other engineers who are doing something like dedicated equipment operator or for example, if I make a thin film, there are people there who is measuring the thickness of the film. And they are paid higher than me because they are seniors. And there are jobs, something like, there is a machine called, you probably know, like thin film evaporator, and the vacuum pumps, you probably know vacuum pumps, right? So there is a technician, like an engineer for these vacuum pumps to install that, and he is paid higher than me. And what else? There are a lot of jobs, which is very simple for an engineer, for a technician, but it is really paid really good. And he has the title, he's an R&D, Research and Development Engineer there. So, I don't know, you guys don't want to get into industry. I don't know why. Because if I ask the same question in UK, nobody wants to become a scientist, nobody wants to do a PhD because they think that it is extremely stressful, which is in fact true. So I think we Indians are very courageous to do things like that. I don't know why. So that's the thing. So that's about industry. I leave the question for the last few minutes. Yeah, that's it, I think. It's motivation, if you want to take it. Take it. I'm not a motivation speaker, right? ChatGPT rephrase this thing. Okay. I missed a point through this process, actually. Let me tell you one thing. The most important thing that I learned through this process is consistency. So, you want to do PhD, you want to get into a job, you want to get into something like scientific job. All of you want to get into that, right? Yeah, probably. So you just have to be consistent. So after 2 years, for example, after 2,000 application, what I used to do, I did 10 application every day, with improved quality in my CV, and tailored CV for that particular position, and tailored CV cover letter for that particular position. So I spent time applying with proper CV that is dedicated to the particular position. So that's the time I started getting selected for the interviews. And after a few interviews, I got into this one. So be consistent. Don't get yourself stressed seeing 2,500 rejection email. Don't get yourself stressed with that. So consistency, that's the keyword that you need to have with you if you want to get into pure science. Some people think that pure science is actually a worthless degree. There are people in my village who think it is they asked me to go to some trade job like like technician, plumbing things. My relatives, my cousin, my fathers and my cousins, they asked me to go for it. There are institutes like ITI, ITC, so they teach you trade. So that was the advice I get from my family and my neighbors. Luckily, I didn't take that, and I became a scientist. So, I'm not asking you to take my advice, but if you want to become something, be consistent and work for it, and you get it. Seriously, you get it. The world wants people in science, so it is easy for you actually if you are on the right track. And that's everything I have to. I cannot think of anything else. Do you have any questions?
So I'll be going around with the mic. If anyone has questions, you can raise your hand.
It's okay. Okay. It's okay. I can walk around. Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
You had earlier mentioned about mailing people, right? So, at this moment in time, like when you're applying to college or something, do you recommend to, before directly applying to the college itself, first knowing a professor there, getting acquainted with them, and then going ahead with the admission procedure, or without, you can just go directly? Yes.
So the question is that he's in his final years, so he wants to apply for PhD, and he's asking whether it is a good idea to email professors to secure a position. Is that right? Yeah. So again, I'm stressing on this word, the international funding. I have friends who are professors in universities there. So they are getting random cold emails, like a lot. So you should have some stuff in your email. So to have that, you find the professors who have funding. So you can find that through this website, which I mentioned earlier. So if the professor has the funding to fund an international PhD student, then he is happy to see or watch your profile. So that actually is the easiest way. But random cold email is also good. But spend your 90% of your time on find the funding. So that's the right way of doing it. And if you want to do something like a general fellowship, something like Chevening scholarship, you probably have heard about like general scholarships, right? Chevening, Gates. I'm actually explaining all these the scholarship and funding in my PhD YouTube channel. There are general, apart from this funded position, you can apply to some general, but which is also extremely competitive. But what I'm telling you is that spend your time, 90% of time on funded PhD program. I mean, that's a professional way of doing it. Yes, sir.
My question is on industry. We don't have much exposure on industries, especially international. So what a student can do. And secondly, key factor is how we can help students to get connection with industrial players, especially the international.
This is actually a wonderful question. Thanks for asking that. So, being in the university, being a professor here, actually what you could, you are part of the association, right? So what you actually can do, develop a very good connection with these industries, especially the R&D, research and development team of the industry. So for example, in the UK, there are business park where there is the business park where I am from have 200 scientific companies there, which has research and development department. So make a solid connection with them. We just have to explain that I'm from this institute, which is one of the elite institutes in the world, in India, and we have amazing students here who want to pursue research career. So make a database with the manager of the research and development laboratories across the world. Give that database and the website to the students. And I don't know if you guys are really probably clever to develop a system or website which can, with AI or something, we can filter out the companies with the job and without the job. So update that every week or every month. And there are advertisements in the websites or the LinkedIn. Find a way to get that into students. I think that's the right way of doing it. If you have a placement cell or something, they can do that. And yeah, I think that answers it. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
What is your current job right now, and what is the thing which you like about it, which is different from conventional industrial jobs?
Yes, the question is, what is my current role in the industry and what makes it special for me? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is I'm a scientist, like the title is material scientist, and the good thing about it is that once I dreamt about, I wanted to become a scientist. So after I graduated from my PhD, I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to get into an engineering position or technician position. I just desperately wanted a scientist position. So I only applied to scientist position. And from other industrial job, what makes it special is I have the freedom to do what I know. I have the knowledge of how the device, or I don't know if you understand this, the microwave background, like the space. So to detect that, you need to make sensors. So the sensor is of this size, and it takes 30 years for us to develop that sensor, in the third generation. So it is called image intensifiers. And this is the third generation we are researching on. So it is my responsibility, and I am leading a team to develop that. So I am using my knowledge, and it is not far away from what I learned. And there are people in my village who was asking, what is the point of learning sine theta, cos theta and everything? I am someone who is using what we learned in the school, so it's actually useful. So that's the interesting part of this job. Is there any other questions? Yes.
Hello, sir. This is a question pertaining to the first years, actually. This is a question pertaining to the first years. So, like, what can we do from the beginning? Because you said consistency matters. So, what can we do from the beginning to ensure things don't pile up towards the end, like especially during the PhD applications? Also, as a follow-up, you mentioned about exposure being important. So, like, how important would internships play? Like, what role would they? Thanks.
So the first question is, what can you do in terms of the consistency and everything, right? So he asked like what he can do as a first year student to get into a PhD student easily. Is that right? So you learning science, you're good at that, right? Like you understand theory and you understand science behind every theory. If you don't try to understand that, try to understand why you are learning that. So that's a basic thing. Apart from that, what you can do, you need to be good at computers. So being a pure science student, like in physics or chemistry, maths, what we are lacking, I mean I lacked it myself, the computer knowledge, something like programming, Python, MATLAB, or what are the programming languages that you know. Do some projects yourself, because you all have the laptops and computers, right? Download Python, it is free, and you are in institute, so probably MATLAB or what is that, console, all these softwares and programming. So that is the very first thing that you need to improve yourself, programming knowledge in every field. So use your programming knowledge in your syllabus, like for solving differential equations, use that. And that makes you good quality programmer in science, because it doesn't mean that you want to be a computer science, but what you need to have to solve a lot of questions in physics, you need to have the right skills of programming. So give your priority to learn the programming. Trust me, it is not a useless skill. It is a very, very useful skill that you need to have. And the second thing is that during an internship or during your master's, your thesis, you're probably doing a project. And I don't know what kind of project that you will get into. If you want to pay money, and if you have money, pay it to the laboratory where you can characterize like AFM. You probably have heard about atomic force microscopy, like tunneling electron microscopy and everything. So these skills are really important for material characterization. Companies want people who are expert in materials. So at least learn how it is working. Learn how to analyze the results of these instruments. So that is another kind. I am being a material scientist, I'm talking from that, but whatever the field you are, there are equipments and skills that applies to that particular field. If you want to develop an automated car or something, there are a particular set of skills that you need to have. So be an expert in that. Do whatever, maximum input into that. And what else? Before applying to the PhD, any of you read papers like scientific journals? Any of you? Being first year student? Fourth year. It's actually worth reading papers and understand the scientific language. It is not like a fictional book. It makes you like crazy, actually. So try to understand the language of science. So that is another important skill that you need to have. So being in your first year, second year, whatever, you are lacking actually. Only she raised the hand. That means you are lacking that skill. So develop that skill. Yes, you have a question, right? Oh, great. He's also reading German, so that's a great thing. Anyone else have any questions? I think that's all said. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to me. Is it okay for you guys to join me for a photo? Thanks. Where do we do that? How do we do that? Okay, so after she wants to do something. Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. Now I cordially invite Dr. Nonu Varghese, Assistant Professor and Faculty Advisor of Physics Department, to share a few words of appreciation with us.
So good evening, one and all. Thank you very much for the opportunity to greet Dr. Nonu Varghese. So what I actually learned from his talk is, in this life, what we need is a spark, right? And it need not to be a very big thing. Even a small spark can stimulate many things in our day-to-day life. So in that sense, I believe that we got that spark. And I also wondered why Nonu Varghese need to do like this. It's not necessary. And that quality in English people call like empathy. Like we have to empathize with others. So whatever the good experience and bad experience that we get, if we share and if we pass it to the younger generations like you, it will be very much useful in that sense. In fact, ideologically, I am opposite to what Nonu Varghese presented, mainly because in my group, most of my students are going to foreign. I am able to retain not even one in India. In that sense, I quite saddened. Okay, so by getting this idea, you will also rigorously apply and you will fly away, right? Yes. Yeah, but that is good actually. The one sense, we may call it like Shakespeare word, like troubled pleasure, right? So in that sense, it is really useful. And he also shared the points, starting from first year to the fourth year, what all the things we can do. And we are all quite, in one sense, that we are actually lagging on the importance of understanding the industry-based jobs, right? Mainly because in this country, we don't have much exposure about the industries, especially the manufacturing sectors. But in science and technology, there are industry-related jobs. Especially I am taking an elective course on metamaterials. It has applications on microwave as well as like MRI. And I know there are several companies which is currently working on metamaterials. So during that course, it's not just a 10 mark or 2 mark questions. No, it is also like technology related. So when I tell my students, if you learn console how to design metamaterial, it is really useful to glimpse that particular skill. So in that sense, it also gave me a kind of encouragement when I listened to Nonu Varghese talk. We can do more and more like this. And if we really inspired from his talk, we have to do similar thing. And especially what is more inspirational from his is gigantic development. It doesn't come from heaven. It is a lot of hard work and struggle and so many number of failures, so many number of rejections, especially the application letters. I also know because I came from IITs. Once we scholars start applying, my seniors, they used to send minimum 400, 600 emails. So when I used to tell in my class 400, 600, they used to amaze. But he told 2,500, out of which 2,491 got rejected. Yes, that number is quite amazing. Yes, it gives no kind of a strength and courage for us to do this. And I must thank Bhauthiki for bringing Dr. Nonu Varghese here. It is quite surprise to me that in Bhauthiki we never arranged this kind of talk, something related to career. In fact, we have to challenge what are we learning from the academic, how it is useful for us, how it is useful for the upliftment of the humankind. So that is very much important. So I appreciate not only Dr. Nonu Varghese, I also appreciate our Bhauthiki, the Physical Association, to bring more lectures related to the career and the academic developments. In that sense, I congratulate the motivational speech provided by Dr. Nonu Varghese. I also thank Bhauthiki Association team members for arranging such a nice talk. And your patience is such wonderful, and this is a Friday evening and you patiently listen to this talk. That is also quite amazing. So I also congratulate and appreciate to create a better life in and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I kindly request Dr. Nadeshan Yogesh to be on the stage as we would like to present a token of appreciation to Dr. Nonu Varghese.
Okay, great, actually. Thank you so much, sir. Photo? Is that action? Start, stand up. Yes, yes. Do any of you mind posting this to Instagram? You mind? No? Yeah, I'll take a selfie video first. Influencer, guys. Alright.